here we go. All right, so if you've been following the channel, excuse me, you would know that we've been going through multiple different phases of the Lauri Markkanen trade drama. Though there was a 10% chance that he got traded, we can't really count anything out because of how things went the last time around with one Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell. We felt like, oh, they're trades, yeah, but they're really unfounded. We're a good team. It's not going to happen. And then it happened. So people still had to entertain Lauri Markkanen getting traded, despite the feeling that he should stay and understanding that we can still be a bad team with him on the roster. We can just shut him down at the end of the year. And even when he does play, we found ways to lose games. I promise. I watched it several times last year. But this isn't about that. I am a little bit late on the track, and by late I mean a few hours. Lauri Markkanen re-signed with the Utah Jazz. And it happened just the same way that I told everybody it would. He was going to wait that day out. And he did, right? Today's August 7th at the time of this video dropping. So he ended up getting the contract everybody thought he would, the max deal, 5 years, $238 million. And the main reason why I wanted to wait to drop this instead of as soon as the news dropped was because I wanted to see what the breakdown was going to look like. Because I had a secondary prediction, which was not only that he would sign on the 7th, but also that it would be a very front-loaded contract. I was wrong, unfortunately. But it's okay because they retained Lauri Markkanen, and effectively he's going to be on the roster for this year. And I don't see a world where they force a trade for him over the remainder of these 4 years that come after this season. So to me, after 7 years of Lauri Markkanen, do you think that his name could be in the rafters? Do you think you could see a Markkanen jersey up there? This is the one team, after all, that gave him the benefit of the doubt this much to have this much of a green light. Because yes, I guess you could argue that the Timberwolves never really cared enough, or they were just received enough in trade compensation to go ahead and ship him out, because he ended up getting drafted by them, but he got sent to the one and only Chicago Bulls that are in mediocrity right now and they can't tell the left foot from the right. And then you have him going over to the Cleveland Cavaliers, which he was decent there, but he was respected as a role player, which is why we were able to get him and Colin Sexton in a deal for Donovan Mitchell. Shout out to the Cleveland Cavaliers because they were able to re-sign Donovan Mitchell, but that's not what this is about. The fact that you got somebody that's going to be you got two guys that are borderline all-star caliber players off the rip, and you change the way that you play basketball to accommodate Lauri's specialty, and he's really outperforming a lot of people, shooting almost 50, 40, 90 splits. Last year, it's pretty tough. It's very tough. At 7 foot, yes, he has a couple nagging injuries, usually around lower body extremities. It happens with a lot of tall guys. It happens with 7-footers more specifically. But through it all, he wasn't as injury prone as everybody makes it out to be last year. And especially towards the end of the season, when we started to shut him down, it wasn't necessarily because he was hurt. It was just because why play him? We're planning to lose. But nevertheless, to go ahead and give you guys a breakdown of how this money is moving this upcoming season, right? They added on $24 million. Yes, they added $24 million to his already existing $18 million that he had on this final year of his contract. So that'll boost him up to obviously 42. And then the preceding 4 years are as follows. And I'm a little bit kind of not the happiest about it, but he got paid, and honestly, that's really all that matters. So in 2026, he's going to be paid $43.7 million. And if you understand basic math, 4 years, 195 is going to be that extra portion outside of this upcoming year where they got the stat boost. So his average salary is middled out to be about $49 million, right? But the year after this one, he's getting 43, almost 44. So that means the year after he's getting 47.2 million. And the year after that, he's getting 50.7 million. Then the year after that, he's getting 54.2 million. So I don't love it. I'm not going to lie. I don't love that part. I was really hoping that we would have kind of flipped it and front loaded the contract just a little bit more. Not to say that he's going to lose his value, right? But he is a 7-footer. They do have their history of injuries. And while he hasn't been as injury prone as a lot of people like to think he's been, he also hasn't had the perfect bill of health. You know, he hasn't had the Michael Bridges Iron Man type, health capabilities. And that's perfectly fine. I believe that his shooting is going to allow him to have the longest amount of longevity that most players will only dream of. But as a result, we also have to keep in mind that there is the possibility of an injury. Now, I would, not speak to that occurring because I don't want it to happen, for one. I love good basketball. It's unfortunate when those things do happen. But I just think that's something that we should keep in mind. Also, I really want us to front load the contract just so we could have a couple more M's to play with when it's time to re-sign guys like your Keontae George, Taylor Hendricks if he pans out as well, Bryce Sensabaugh if he pans out as well. And then you have Walker Kessler, you have this entire rookie draft class of Isaiah Collier, Kyle Filipowski, Cody Williams, all of those guys. And you also will eventually have Colin Sexton, of course. But I wouldn't worry too much. The money will be there for him, because he's really the only other guy that's getting significant money alongside, I guess, John Collins and Jordan Clarkson getting $14 million. But by that time, they'll be kind of phased out of the rotation and everything. Similarly to Taylor Horton-Tucker, who became a free agent because they didn't re-sign him, and he's finding a hard time getting a solid NBA contract. He might end up in the EuroLeague, which is perfectly fine. The EuroLeague is great basketball to watch. I know a lot of people may not agree with that take, but from a purely enjoying basketball standpoint and being a student in the game, I really enjoy the coaching philosophies. I understand a lot of the stuff isn't the most modernized basketball, but it's definitely enjoyable. And we're seeing with the FIBA rules, things are just a lot better. The referees are letting the guys play. There's not as many easy calls. They're making you work for it. Now, there have been a couple questionable ones, like when Japan played France, I believe, and Rui Hachimura got his second flagrant foul or whatever and got booted. But, the FIBA games this year in the Olympics have been fantastic. And I believe that Lauri would love to represent Finland one day in those. At the same time, I would also think that he wants to be on the winning side of things. And even though he re-signed his contract, I believe that this also symbolizes that the Jazz are a little bit closer than a lot of people want them to be. And I say that because of this. Last year at the trade deadline, I loved the basketball we were playing. I loved Chris Dunn. I loved Colin Sexton. I loved Lauri Markkanen. I loved, who else we had? We had John Collins, and we had the fifth players eluding me. Walker Kessler came off the bench. Jordan Clarkson came off the bench. Who am I forgetting? Simone Fontecchio. That's who it was. And then we traded Fontecchio, we traded Olynyk, we traded Ochai Agbaji. So that wasn't necessarily the most enjoyable thing in the world because I liked the synergy. I liked the vibe. It gave very much like 2016, 2017, 2018 New York Nets when they were sitting there dancing on the sideline, all locked arms, and they had the Playboy Cardi playing in the background. That was just a vibe. It was energy. It looked like the basketball was fun. Like they weren't the greatest team, of course, but it just looked like it was fun basketball to watch and be in the stadium and watch that, enjoy that, take it all in. So I think that we can miss that vibe because that's the team energy that I got from them. They enjoyed playing for one another. I think that we can foster that in these young guys, and I think Lauri Markkanen and Colin Sexton are the two perfect leaders to foster that in your guys because, number one, Colin Sexton's hustle, he's energy, he's disciplined, he's an energizer bunny 24/7. He's going to hype you up. You can be the guy that subbed him out while he's on a hot streak. He'll sit on the bench. He will not complain. He'll get up as soon as you hit your first shot. He'll stand up when you're shooting your three, hold the three in the air. When you miss, start clapping his hands, sit right back down on the bench because he's just a boost. He's a boost, and you need that, especially for your young guys, because it's very easy to lose confidence early on. Looking at Lauri Markkanen, he's also there alongside Walker Kessler, and if Walker Kessler doesn't end up getting traded because he fails to produce this year, then I think that Walker Kessler will take that next step. He's already a good shot blocker, right? If he can add a little bit more range, he can get a little more comfortable shooting shots, right? And he can be a little bit more aggressive on the glass. And you can have Lauri and Kessler on the floor, that's guaranteed at least 17-ish boards, right? 17-ish between the two of them together. And I really like that duo. Of course, Kessler can't shoot right now, but Lauri really more than makes up for it. It does force Kessler into a short corner, but Lauri has a talent that you cannot just sit there and buy on the shelf anywhere. It's understood very easily that there are a lot of players that are going to come up in this next year's draft, especially in those first, I'd say 5 to 7 picks, where they're going to be not necessarily generational talents, but they're going to be guys where, like, if they're not all-stars, you're going to be scratching your head like, what happened to him? Like, what happened to bro? Because he's supposed to be like that. He was supposed to be him. It's not just Cooper Flag in this draft, by the way, guys. And with that being said, I would much rather get one of those guys and still have Lauri than trade Lauri and just have one of those guys. Because then you're going to have to figure out who you want your leader to be. Do you really want Colin Sexton to sit there and man the whole shit by himself? Are you going to trust Jordan Clarkson off his worst shooting season of his career with no trade value to go ahead and take the lead? Are you going to have John Collins take the lead? You almost sent him away before the trade deadline last year. So I don't know really how that would have ended up panning out. And honestly, I would have hated it. But I really like this a lot better because there's quite a few players that will have a similar game to Lauri, but also have a stronger creationist sense. There will be a couple wings that I'm really salivating about. And I need to watch a little bit more of their games, especially with the college season coming up, because I want to see who I would best ideally like to see fit alongside Lauri Markkanen. I think Colin Sexton will evolve into the point guard that they find necessary. Isaiah Collier should be a very solid person to run that second unit, especially early on. I believe in 2 seasons, he can really get that turnover issue in check because Colin Sexton had a little bit of a turnover issue and he was able to get that thing handled. We watched it in real time last year. Even though the team was sucking, he was still finding a way to be efficient. And I love that. Jordan Clarkson probably won't be the best fit alongside Isaiah Collier just because Jordan Clarkson tried to be a playmaker and it was kind of part of his responsibilities last year and the year before, but it did not pan out very well because he always averaged, well, just career highs in turnovers literally back-to-back seasons. I believe that guys like Cody Williams or Kyle Filipowski, I think they'll take steps up and make strides. I'm really high on what Kyle Filipowski potentially could be, and it makes me feel comfortable if Walker Kessler doesn't end up being the perfect savant big that we really hope he could be. And I think that that tandem of one having a really strong offensive game, one having a really strong defensive game, one being able to be a really strong shooter, one can be a really good lob threat. I think that that bodes well, but obviously I would like for Walker Kessler to just round out his game and become a complete force. But you can't have it all, and I believe that some players will eventually get left by the wayside as a result of this move and ones to come down the road. I think that if Lauri Markkanen ends up staying all of the 5 years of his contract, the rebuild happens, say we're not necessarily a playoff team 2 years down the road, but let's say after this draft that comes around, we are a just overall much better looking roster from a young talent standpoint. I could see like in that 4th year of the re-signing, we're a serious problem for somebody, especially with the youth finally getting up there. You'll have Keontae George probably year 5, year 6, Walker Kessler, similar deal. I just really like the way that that would end up looking, and we could take an L in the playoffs and be like, man, that was some really good comp. That was some really good experience. Come back the next year, recharged, rejuvenated with fresh legs, strong powers, and really go to hammering that thing away. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. How do you feel about Lauri Markkanen finally re-signing so we could put these rumors to bed? I'm not going to lie. It was really good views for me individually, but I never really put up anything that I didn't think was possible, and I was just upfront and honest and said that yes, this trade looks good, but I still think we should keep him. Yes, this trade looks good, but unless they do da-da-da-da, this is the case, because I'll just like to be honest and as genuine as possible with things. And with that being said, go ahead and let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think it was a great signing? Do you think that we should have tried to front load it a little bit more? Are you comfortable with this as it is? Do you think the cap room is going to just grow to the point where it just makes sense that they did it this way? And who do you think is going to take a step up this year, even though the Jazz are going to be tanking? With that being said, it's your boy Ray Tubes. Thank you for tuning in this video. As always, good morning, good evening, and good night. No matter where you're on the globe watching, thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.